Welcome to ZKast, everybody. I'm Z.S. Caraval from ZK Research, and I'm here for another thought leadership interview. Today, I'm joined by James Parker, the CEO of Tango. James, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. The summertime, the weather has been great. A lot to be excited about.
Yeah. Now, I know you, of course. I've known you in the past as the CEO of Masergy. You've also had pretty long career. You've had stints at Microsoft, Savas, Tata Communications, a lot of telecom in there. You've been the CEO of Tango since December, I believe, of 2021. What attracted you to the company? What does Tango do, and what did you find so exciting that you decided to go lead that company?
Yeah, maybe I'll start with what Tango does and kind of paint this picture of where it's going. And it's really in that journey that I got excited about the company and the direction that we can take the company, and frankly also our industry. So when we look at why we exist, Tango's mission, we simplify, manage, and optimize technology expenses. And we do this ultimately so our customers can focus on what they do best and how they serve their customer and their set of services. And Tango is the leader in our industry. We have over 13 million devices, mobile phones under management, or mobile devices under management. We're processing 15 billion in expenses, just a tremendous amount of expenses that we're processing for our customers. We're integrated in various means and ways with 400 carriers around the planet, processing hundreds of thousands of invoices, every month. We're operating in 200 countries. We have 129 currencies supported. We got 50% of the Fortune 500 as our customers, and we've been around for 2 decades. And we've been a visionary for almost a decade on the Gartner Magic Quadrant. And so we have a tremendous foundation. We've led the thinking within our industry. And I feel that this industry is at an inflection point. And so we had a lot of focus on this cost optimization piece, and where our customers are asking us to deliver more and more value is in this manage and simplify. Their processes are integrating with our processes to deliver mission critical services to their customers. And so before it was all about how much money can you save, and now it's, I really need that field technician. For them to do their job, they have to have a device in their hand and it needs to work. If it doesn't, they can't serve their customers. We have this with clinical trials. We can't deliver patient care. We have customers that run the trains, and the trains can't leave without these devices. And so this integration of our supply chain, our value chain, with their supply chain, value chain to their customers has become blurred and deeply integrated, and where a lot more value creation from us to them, to their customers is occurring. And that is part of the journey we're on, is how do we deliver a more holistic service? How do we get further integrated and providing, I would say, a more sophisticated data insight and intelligence that further enables our customers to make better decisions around their expenses and around how they better serve their customers. And that's all this integration of software plus service coming together across different expense categories to deliver, I would say, a higher value of insight for our customers to make better decisions. And this is a really a point of departure from I need to just optimize cost. And you can see the sophistication that's coming within the industry and the value drivers that we need to have to better support our customers and frankly enable them in their supply chain, value chain to deliver on their mission critical capabilities.
All right. Well, let's talk expense management then. It's not the most it's not the most sexy topic, but I'll tell you something. It is, as a former IT pro myself, I understand the importance of it. Before we continue, I do want to just give a quick shout out to eWeek, my media partner. All ZKasts are done in conjunction with the eWeek eSpeaks program. Now, I had talked about my days as a former IT pro, and I know there's you talked about being a market leader, but I believe your biggest competition really is status quo, correct? The customers that feel they can manage expenses through spreadsheets, they can rely on vendor tools, things like that. And what's wrong with doing it that old way? Like, what kind of problems do customers face?
Yeah, what I can say is when we come into an organization that hasn't had expense management, the amount of optimization that we find is significant. It can be all the way up to 30%. And what we see is just the complexity in these expense streams is just growing exponentially every year. It's not getting less, it's getting more. And there's more change that's coming through the system with technology. So if we look at on the fixed side, going from MPLS into broadband networks and SD-WAN, that's driving a lot of change. And that all needs to be managed and processed and controlled. And that complexity is hard to do inside a company. And the specialized skills to do it is also hard. And the breadth and depth of data, when we have 15 billion in expense management, we know the spot price of any network connection anywhere on the planet, and what the value of that is, and certainly what you should be paying for it as an enterprise. And so the depth of information that we have rivals even the biggest enterprises on the planet. And so having better data, I would say better capabilities to manage the complexity is a driver to have a company like ours take that on. And this is only, we just talked about within fixed, and you think about the same complexity within mobile, and not just the mobile devices, but anything that would have a SIM card and a mobile program attached to it, that all has to get managed. And the complexity of those programs, in many cases, are exponential to the fixed. And then the third expense category that we're in is on cloud. And one cloud provider, you probably can do it, but the reality of the world is it's a multi-cloud environment, and enterprises are using bits and pieces of them all, and being able to understand that expense flow, the categorization, the GL allocation, and the optimization. There is complexity of doing that in a multi-cloud environment. And so having
hold on, I do want to come back to those. I just want to talk more about the complexity of expense management. And certainly anybody that's worked in telecom will never accuse telcos of having accurate billing. That's for sure. And even some of the big software companies and stuff they use, it's funny. They put the onus on the customer almost to be able to manage those before they provide help. So it's like I said, it's not the most exciting topic sometimes, but it's certainly if you can't get the blocking and tackling right as an organization, it's hard to do any kind of advanced projects, without really knowing what your costs are. So now it's I don't often talk to business leaders, and you're the CEO of the company, without talking about macro issues. Now the macro is something everybody wants to talk about. How has some of the macro issues that we're facing now, things like the recession, the great resignation that's going on, how's that impacted your business?
Yeah, those are areas that obviously are impacting us. And I almost think of it in threes. We have COVID and post-pandemic, and then as you mentioned, recession. As that's coming around the corner, and then the great resignation, I like to call it the great resource reshuffle. Seems maybe a little bit more positive. But this really has caused us to reflect on how we structure ourselves, how we think about resourcing, how we deliver our services. But companies are looking to us to help them, right? We want to drive more optimization. We want to do process delegation. Can we look at all the elements that we can ask you to do that we don't need to do? And that drives a de-risk for them, where they're looking at us as a resource partner in this space so that they can reallocate or up-level those resources that we're doing this for them as well. And so the reliance on us and our integration with our customers in that context is being amplified. And they're looking for us to deliver more value on the bottom line, as well as on a process, total cost of ownership view as well.
Yeah, I think you could argue that with all the changes going on in your customers, business, that the ability for you to do what you do well, and that's optimize expenses, goes from a nice to have to an absolute must have. And I would think that would be the case. Now, you touched on a couple of market shifts, and I find this sort of a fascinating era to be in a technology pro, because we have the big shift of hybrid work going on, right? Which is, from an IT pro perspective, I don't know if there's ever been anything like this before, where you have to be prepared to have everybody in the office, nobody in the office, and every possible combination in between. which drives a bunch of new technologies, things like SD-WAN. I saw a pretty significant boost in SD-WAN demand when work from home started. 5G has become a real alternative now for wireline connectivity. Companies, as you talked about, are moving to multi-cloud. All the big cloud providers have distributed edge nodes as well. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on in conjunction with hybrid work. And so how has that impacted your customers' usage of your services?
Yeah, and one, when we come back to our mission of simplify, manage, optimize, this notion of simplify and manage is getting amplified, and all of the things that you articulated there with within the category of fixed, there's change. Within the category of mobile, there's change. Within the category of cloud, there's change, and our customers want this to be connected. And so you think about, in the context of this resource reshuffle, there's a lot of onboarding, offboarding. And when an employee gets onboarded, they need a mobile phone. They need to have access to various SaaS applications. They need to have typically either a device or a stipend that's related to their fixed, and that all needs to be managed. And you can't just have something just happen in fixed in isolation of mobile, in isolation of your SaaS applications management. They want that all together, and they want to be able to shift and move that inventory as their workforce is moving. And so this just amplifies that. One use case is the sophistication around really managing those expense categories together in new contexts. And so that data insight across categories that drives better decisions, more efficient management of expenses is paramount. And internally, it's very hard for them to do that without these sets of tools and applications to manage it on their behalf and serve it up in I would say, a more insightful way across this. And so that some of our very sophisticated customers are leveraging these tools to manage the complexity, right? How do I drive my costs, let's say, within cloud in context of what we're doing within mobile or what we're doing within fixed? Like, how is my network spend shifting as it relates to my cloud consumption? And we have a point of view for a customer based on their spend, how modernized or not they are relative to the types of expenses that's flowing through our systems. And we know that in context of other customers, and can give them a point of view on how modernized or contemporary they are relative, to their peer group, and certainly to the community that we manage as well. And so more demand is being put on that simplify and manage alongside of optimize to drive the higher levels of value, insight that they need to make better decisions around these expense categories and around these shifts that are occurring that they can see.
That's interesting. Based off the types of spend they have, you could almost create a modernization benchmark and help customers understand. They may think they're modernized, but perhaps they might be at the at the lagging edge, versus
their cloud consumption is a part of that. Their SaaS license consumption is a part of that. Their mobile and how they use mobile is again another element of that. Individually, it's interesting, but collectively, it's compelling. It's insightful. You take larger view of the business and more strategic decisions based on that integration.
That's pretty fascinating. So now you started off as a TEM, Telecom Expense Management Provider, which is a fairly fragmented market, right? You've recently added mobile and you've now added cloud. And so, given the kind of number of vendors in the market and fragmentation we see, what is it you think that sets Tango apart from the myriad of other companies in the space?
Yeah, I think that the anchor point is our scale and size, and we have I look at this as the most mobile devices under management and the largest expense flow through that's happening within our business. And that scale and size gives you just different insights and understanding. Like you can't do a benchmarking against a community of one. It's a lot different if you can do it against a community of 1,500. And so the data that we have is differentiated and non-replicatable, because that's the data that's flowing through our platform. I think the other piece is how we think about our technology and building out a platform in which our expense categories sit on top of. So we have core services within our platform. If it's, let's say, reporting and analytics, as we drive improvements in reporting and analytics in our core platform, that makes it better for mobile, that makes it better for cloud, that makes it better for fixed. And so the strategy and architecture that we have within our technology is absolutely a core differentiator. And within that core platform, we have a common data layer, and then that enables us to drive higher value data insights across categories that can provide some compelling, actionable views of their organization to have an impact on either how they want to save money or how they want to deploy resources, or areas where they need to put more emphasis on because it's driving great savings. And so that notion of actionable insight across expense categories is differentiated.
So let's talk numbers here. So obviously, you've articulated the kind of qualitative value of what you do. Now quantify that for customers that use your product. What kind of savings do they typically see?
Yeah, and it depends where they are in their life cycle. And so if we're onboarding a new customer that they were a do-it-yourself shop and they hadn't had any management, you can get that savings percentage up to 30%, sometimes even more, depending on how they were managed and the age of their contracts and where they are in that cycle. And then as we go through that optimization, depending if it's fixed, mobile, or cloud, there's this continuous audit and optimization that's incurring, and so there's savings that's being held or being realized every year. And when you get into a renewal for those underlying carrier or underlying suppliers, whether it's cloud, mobile, or fixed, then we have set of services that really can help those enterprises, and when they renegotiate their contracts, understand that they're getting an effective deal. And then there's another set of savings that happens in that regard, or at that point in time. And so it's one, onboarding and continuously through the life cycle with us. Optimization is happening every month, and we're seeing savings. And this optimization is also about making sure bills get paid on time, they're getting charged, and for what you've actually contracted. In many cases, there's a lot of errors that we all know that exist in this industry that need to be tracked and traced and corrected. And we have that resource pool that does that, both with technology and people. And so the savings are real. They're sustained over the life of the contract, and they're ongoing as our customers stay with us.
Yeah, and I would certainly encourage anybody that's watching this to do an audit. I think in general, companies that I've talked to that have gone through even the telecom audit, then they find circuits and things they've been paying for but aren't using, and it is quite an eye opener. So now, one of the misconceptions of this industry is that a tool like yours is really only for large multinational businesses that have presence around the globe and have complex buying habits and things like that. Now, and I know you serve that audience, but can you talk about your customer base and the value you bring to companies of different sizes?
Yeah, and we have, in that 1,500 customers, we run the whole spectrum of the enterprise. So from the very largest Fortune 100 companies down to the mid-enterprise and even to the smaller enterprises as well. And the reason for this is the complexity within these expense categories and managing it is going up. And so there might be low volume, but there's high complexity. And a mid-enterprise is dealing with all of the same complexity that a large enterprise is with less resource. And so the need for services like ours is actually felt to some degree more so within that mid to low enterprise because of the lack of resource expertise that they don't have, right? And so leveraging into us, we're providing and see a great service for them. And we just went to market with a very specific mid-enterprise offer that is even further optimizing that value equation for those types of customers to leverage this world-class service that is really geared for their size of their enterprise, that fits within that I would say their affordability or cost profile, but they're getting all the same value that we're doing for some of our largest customers. They're reaping, all that reward from all that learning and what we've had over the years. So the need is there across the enterprise. There's no less complexity lower than there is higher, and then really trying to marry that service match by enterprise customer segment. We've been working on that and getting that fit to happen. I would say more effectively than previously done.
Not just for multinationals, large multinationals. That's important to understand. Now, last question, James. You've now moved into cloud, mobile, things like that. What's on the horizon for Tango? Where do you go next?
Yeah, there's really these three core areas. One is continuing to build out our platform services and how much can we bring into that platform for us, where we have commonality of these core services, and we're going to continue to build that out, and that creates and unlocks a lot of cross value between the different expense categories. We will continue to build out our service lines. So as you mentioned, we've gone to cloud, and we'll look at more broadly connected devices in general, edge devices, and bringing more of that inventory into our catalog and managing, I would say, a higher diversity of devices as we go forward. And I'm very specifically not talking about IoT or a specific device category, because there's many, and that complexity factor and inventory management and expense controlling, that's the challenge in that area as well. And then the third area is how we continue to drive higher value through these cross-category insights that enable organizations to take meaningful action. And those are the three areas that we're going to continue to invest in, drive the platform, drive the service line, and drive higher value data insight that can unlock more value for our customers.
Well, awesome. That was a fantastic interview, James. If for people watching this, if you want to learn more about Tango, you just go to tango.com. I'll make sure I include that link in the description below. So James, thanks for the update on what Tango is doing. Sounds like you guys are doing a lot of great stuff for your customers. And on behalf of James, I'm ZS Caravallo from ZK Research. Don't forget to click to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on ZKast.